Hello and welcome everyone. Today's question is pretty simple. We have a list, list 1 and list 2. We have given head 1 and head 2 and we have to tell whether these two lists are identical or not. So I will tell you iterative approach, then I will go into the recursive approach. So first we have to check whether its elements are equal. So yes, its element is equal. So we will move to next value. So head 1 next and head 2 next. Yes, its value is also equal. So move to next value, head 1 and head 2. Yes, 5 is also equal. So move to next value, h1 and h2. Yes, it is also equal. So h1 next and h2 next. So as you can see, now it is pointing to null. So whether h1 is pointing to null value or h2 is pointing to null value. So we have a loop, h1 must be not null, and h2 is also must be not null. So we have checked these values, and after that h1 must be null. If it is null, then h2 is also must be null. So we can say list has same size and yes, it is identical. If h2 is null and if h1 is null and h2 is not null, like in this case, we will see in this case, so these values is equal. So move to next value, h1 value and h2 value. H1 and h2 also equal. So move to next value, h1 and h2. Yes, 5 is also equal. So move to next value, h1 and h2. So h1 is pointing to null and h2 is pointing to non-null value. So as you can see, h1 is null but h2 is not null. Both value must be null to be identical. But h1 is null and h2 is not null. So it will return false. So let's go to the code. So we have h1 and h2. h1 not null and h2 not null. So we have to check the values. If value is equal, h1 dot data is equal to h2 dot data, means values is equal. So we have to go to next value, h1 dot next and h2 dot next. Else it is not equal, so we have to return false. So if we go out this loop, so h1 must be null and h2 must be null. So we can write it like this, or we can also write it like h1 equal to h2. If both are null, then it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So this is about the iterative approach. Let's move to the coding recursive approach. So we have h1 and h2. So first check if h1 is null. So suppose we have this list, h1 pointing to null and h2 have some values like this list. So h1 is null but h2 is not null. So only h1 is null or only h2 is null. So means we have to return false. And we have one more condition, which is h1 dot data. Now here h1 is not null and h2 is also not null. So we can check the values. If the value is not equal, then we have to return false. Else we have to move to next value. So I will call the same function with h1 next value and h2 next value. So we have solved this question, but we are missing one base case. Suppose both value null. So h1 also null and h1 and h2 both are null. So we have to check that if h1 is equal to h2. So it will check if it is null or not. So it's null, so we have to return true. So if it's not null, What if it is not null? So it will go to the next base case. So h1 null or h2 null, or its value is not equal. So we have to return false. So this is a simple 3-line recursive code. So let's submit it. If you are watching till now, a click on the subscribe button is appreciated. And we have an error here. There's a mistake. We have to return equals to. So now submit it. It's a pretty simple one. So yes, it is successfully submitted. And thank you all for watching this video.